and head of fintech at the Bank of Ghana, Kwame Opong, says the central bank is committed to ensuring transparent regulatory processes for emerging digital innovations across all sectors. He made the assurance at the Digital Asset Summit here in Accra.
At the event, the head of fintech at the Bank of Ghana, Kwame Opong, assured the participants of a transparent regulatory processes for new technologies across various sectors of Ghana's economy.
Digital currencies, the proliferation of unregulated platforms, the heightened exposure of cybercrimes, the potential use of these instruments for illicit financial flows, and demand careful policy attention. Left unchecked, such risks could undermine the monetary sovereignty, financial stability, and consumer protection across African economies. Ladies and gentlemen, in shaping regulatory responses, Africa must adopt a structured, forward-looking approach anchored in 5 key principles. Now highlights these key principles. 1, consumer and investor protections. Safeguards must ensure that individuals and businesses engaging in digital asset transactions are adequately protected from fraud, market abuse, unfair practices, and the likes. Disclosure requirements and strong redress mechanisms are essential for protecting consumers. Second is financial stability and integrity. Digital assets activities must be integrated into the broader financial oversight framework to mitigate against systemic risk. This includes ensuring alignment with AML and CFT policies and standards consistent with the FATF guidelines, that's the Financial Action Task Force. Regulatory innovation is a third, and adaptability. The frameworks that should be introduced across Africa must not stifle technological advancements. In fact, instruments such as regulatory sandboxes, pilot programs, and innovation hubs can enable authorities to monitor emerging businesses and business models while promoting responsible innovation. Fourth is an often ignored but important dimension: regional and continental harmonization. Fragmented national approaches risk regulatory arbitrage and market inefficiencies. Through platforms such as African Union, regional economic communities, and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, Africa must ensure and pursue harmonized standards that facilitate interoperability as well as cross-border financial integration. And perhaps finally, international cooperation. Given the global nature of digital assets, and you see it today more than ever, it is important that African regulators actively engage in global standard-setting bodies, ensuring that the continent's perspectives are represented and that international norms are appropriately adapted to our African contexts. These are 5 important pillars that must be reflected in regulatory frameworks across Africa. And let me give you a sense of what Bank of Ghana has been doing in collaboration with the Securities and Exchange Commission, as well as the Financial Intelligence Center.
The Bank of Ghana's assurance came as delegate, and stakeholders urged clarity around how virtual assets and digital finance should be supervised.
I jump onto the role of technology, fear, and ignorance. In the world of technology, we have the people that we associated them with the British movement in the 1970s, which we tagged them as Luddites, which sometimes a negative interpretation of it. Now we're calling those who are skeptical about this as tech skeptics. But the whole idea is whether we want to have a dichotomy between those who cheer technology and those who fear technology. I don't think that conversation is important. But hidden in that conversation is the element of ignorance. So we really need to take our time in unpacking what technology does. When I was at Ghana Statistical Service, I said to them that my goal really is a change in what we do and how we do that by automating what we do and making sure that what we are doing is novel. And that was my interpretation of AI. So while I'm not savvy with hardcore coding with AI, I really see the relevance of it, and that has to be embraced. And once we do that, we'll begin to uncover the inadequacies and complications of technologies, which, when you ask me, is only about its inability to conceptualize things and its inability to tell us how we handle what AI gives to us. In the context of that, as I indicated, we are rethinking data and statistics in a different way. This is a very complicated visual. I can spend my whole day talking about it, but I'm going to highlight just a couple of things. In our world, as data and statisticians, we're thinking about data giving us information, getting statistics out of it in a structured way. So we talk about the fundamental principles of official statistics. That conversation has changed.
At the same event, Deputy Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Nick Thompson, said SEC will shortly begin scrutinizing virtual asset dealings in Ghana.
To fold our arms and watch whilst the global transformation takes place, or we put our hands to the wheel and do what is needed to ensure that the opportunities and the economic transformation that is being created in that space, our citizens get to benefit from it. And so we have decided to adopt the latter approach by actively participating in this and ensuring that we're able to create prosperity for our people. And so, like Kwame said, the Bank of Ghana and the SEC have been working together for some time to come up with a legal and regulatory framework that is going to guide the implementation and operationalization of the digital and virtual asset space in Ghana. And I'll run you through a few of the things that very soon service providers are going to have the opportunity to apply for and to provide those services in the country. Very soon, we're going to look at things like virtual asset dealing services, and it is an off-exchange virtual asset conversion and peer-to-peer transactions, and is going to be regulated by the Bank of Ghana. License will be issued for people to be able to participate in that space. There is a virtual asset exchanges and trading platforms, the crypto exchanges and what have you, which is a centralized trading platform for clearing and settlements, which will also be licensed by the SEC. We have the virtual asset wallet service providers, we have the virtual asset payment processors, the virtual asset issuance, the virtual asset tokenization, the virtual asset exchange traded funds, the virtual asset managers, virtual asset investment advisors, virtual asset brokerage, virtual asset advocacy, virtual asset mining and validating, virtual asset lending and borrowing services, virtual asset innovative virtual asset services. All these are various licensing regimes which are going to be implemented, and people will have the opportunity, market operators will have the opportunities. And so at every opportunity, I talk to industry players. I want to encourage them to get themselves ready for the operationalization of this bill, so that as we encourage international participation in the local market, in the service provision, we also need to encourage domestic participation. And we want to encourage the young innovators to ready themselves up to take full advantage of some of these opportunities that are going to come up. And it's going to create a lot of jobs and opportunities for our people. I can begin to enumerate the benefits the virtual asset space and the digital asset space will bring to our domestic economy, from ease of payments to protection for our currency, and a number of benefits to job creation, to what have you. We can't begin to even quantify the impact this is. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the Bank of Ghana for the support. I mean, even though we are co-regulators, they have the money.
Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Association of Banks, Johnny, will also address the summit, underscoring the importance of digital assets in the evolving financial landscape.
Use cases range from remittances and savings to merchant payments and the daring ones for speculative trading. Recognizing these trends, the Bank of Ghana has shifted toward a regulatory approach that aims to foster innovation while protecting the integrity of the financial system. The August 2024 guideline proposes licensing requirements for VASPs, that is virtual asset service providers, including governance, capital requirements, and cybersecurity standards. Strict compliance with KYC and AML measures in line with global standards such as the FATF Recommendation 15. Regulatory sandboxes for testing innovative digital asset products. Limited engagements by banks, allowing banks to provide services to registered VASPs, but not to operate directly in digital asset businesses. And finally, mandatory consumer education and risk disclosures. This transition from outright prohibition to a balanced regulatory framework reflects an understanding that digital assets, if properly managed, can be integrated into Ghana's broader financial architecture.
A former head of Ghana's Cybersecurity Authority, Dr. Nchibu urged increased investment in the sector.
Some years ago, it wasn't like this. Yeah. I remember when we even started talking about setting up Cybersecurity Authority. It did appear as if we're duplicating, creating several agencies. But I think it's emerging. Ghana started quickly, and our colleagues in Ivory Coast and others have started following suit. It's always like that. But there's no doubt, if you do a survey in this room, that none of us will doubt the primacy of cybersecurity as we build a digital economy. We're transforming the economy. We develop an information-driven society, data-driven society. Whether it's AI or whichever, you need cybersecurity to provide some sort of guarantee. Not 100%, but at least some sort of assurance. But this new dimension of society we're developing has got certain pillars, and that's cybersecurity across all levels.
The convener of the Digital Asset Summit Africa spoke exclusively to Joy Business about the future path of the summit and Ghana's role as a regional digital asset frontier.
You heard from the head of innovation and fintech from the Bank of Ghana. You've heard from the Deputy Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission. When they all come together in a room like this that DASA is promoting, that tells you the importance that they all attach to digital assets. And the reason why it's important is that it is a financial services product which is catching up across the globe. But for some reason, for some unexplained reason, Ghana as a country are always behind when it comes to some of these things. And before we realize, people are making the decision for us. And as I said in my opening remarks, we want to be part of the conversation right from the beginning. So over 560 million users across the globe today, dealing in using blockchain technologies to deal in digital assets like cryptocurrency, stablecoin, Bitcoin. It is really, really becoming another financial instrument that people are investing so much. And we felt it is crucial that we bring the knowledge and understanding to the people within Ghana so that they can take advantage of the opportunities that this financial services product brings.
The summit saw panel discussions on regulation, institutional adoption, and the interface between blockchain innovation and financial stability. This year's summit was under the theme Unlocking Africa's Digital Economy Through Innovation and Regulation.